The hidden cost of success. When your public face doesn't match your private actions. What if everything we've been taught about success is built on a dangerous illusion? The idea that you can smile in the boardroom while sabotaging in the break room, that you can post inspirational quotes on Monday and undermine your colleagues on Tuesday. I'm standing before you today, humbled and energized by a recent conversation that has fundamentally shifted my understanding of leadership. JoAnne Dunn, a name you may not know yet, but one I believe will echo through the halls of transformative leadership for decades to come, recently shared insights with me that cut straight to the heart of what's holding us back in our organizations, communities, and society. JoAnne isn't just making waves, she's creating tsunamis of change. As the first female executive director of the Youth Shelter Program of Westchester since its incorporation in 1975, she shattered a nearly 50-year pattern of male leadership. But what makes JoAnne truly extraordinary isn't just breaking this barrier. It's how she's redefining what power looks like in spaces where Black women have historically been marginalized. Our conversation reveals something profound that has been hiding in plain sight. There's a widening gap between what people project publicly and what they do behind closed doors. And this gap isn't just a moral issue, it's literally costing us our health, our wealth, and our collective potential. Think about it. We live in a world where a CEO can champion diversity in a press release on Monday and then systematically undermine Black women in budget meetings on Tuesday, where a colleague can praise your work to your face and then take credit for it in an email chain you're not on, where organizations celebrate Black History Month in February, but block the advancement of Black talent the other 11 months of the year. This isn't just hypocrisy. It's a silent epidemic that's eroding trust, stifling innovation, and preventing truly transformative leadership from emerging. When JoAnne stepped into her historic role, she faced a choice that many of us confront daily. She could have adopted the aggressive competitive tactics that had dominated her organization for decades, playing the game by the old rules to prove herself worthy. Many would have understood this approach. Some would have applauded it. Instead, she chose a path of radical authenticity. She brought transparency and collaborative decision making to an organization that desperately needed fresh perspectives. She demonstrated that leadership built on alignment between public statements and private actions creates more sustainable impact than leadership built on undermining others. People respond to authenticity with their own authenticity, JoAnne told me, her voice resonating with conviction. And that's where true collaboration begins. When we drop the masks and bring our whole selves to the table, the results speak volumes. Under her leadership, the organization has maintained its critical mission while gaining new energy and direction in its work with youth in Mount Vernon, New York. Her approach didn't just benefit her career, it benefited the entire community the organization serves. This brings me to the first profound truth from our conversation. Authentic leadership isn't just morally superior, it's strategically advantageous. The most respected leaders in any industry maintain consistency between their public persona and private actions. Let me be crystal clear. I'm not talking about perfection, I'm talking about alignment. When what you say matches what you do, you build a foundation of trust that no amount of strategic manipulation can replicate. But this principle extends beyond individual leadership to organizational culture and community building. Consider another powerful example that emerged from my conversation with JoAnne. She told me about a visionary entrepreneur who recognized that Black women in business face unique stressors, including dealing with people who undermine them behind the scenes while presenting a different face publicly. Instead of accepting this toxic environment as just how business works, this founder created an enterprise specifically focused on supporting the mental and physical well being of middle aged Black women entrepreneurs. The business built a community that emphasizes transparency, mutual support, and directly addressing harmful behaviors rather than perpetuating them. This brings us to our second key insight. Building sustainable success requires lifting others up rather than tearing them down. Organizations and individuals who prioritize collaboration over competition often achieve more meaningful and lasting results. This isn't just feel good philosophy, it's practical business strategy. When we create environments where people don't have to waste energy defending themselves against sabotage or navigating hidden agendas, they can direct that energy toward innovation, growth, and actual problem solving. The founder's approach has empowered participants to recognize and address harmful dynamics in their own professional environments, breaking cycles of toxicity that have historically held Black women entrepreneurs back. By creating a space where accountability is valued and harmful behaviors are addressed openly, this business hasn't just supported individual entrepreneurs, it's helping to transform entire business ecosystems. Now, let's talk about a third example that JoAnne shared with me, one that perfectly illustrates the difference between performative support and genuine commitment. Fun Women has demonstrated an ongoing commitment to supporting Black entrepreneurs beyond designated celebration periods like Black History Month. While many organizations show support for Black entrepreneurs only during designated months, while potentially engaging in harmful or undermining behaviors the rest of the year, I Fund Women has implemented a consistent year round approach to supporting Black owned businesses, amplifying Black voices, and investing in Black entrepreneurs. This consistent support has created sustainable opportunities for growth rather than performative, time limited initiatives. Their approach sets a standard for other funding organizations and demonstrates that authentic, consistent support yields better results than inconsistent or two faced engagement. And this brings us to our third key insight. Embracing accountability isn't a weakness, but a strength that builds trust and credibility. In today's interconnected world, transparency is increasingly becoming a necessity rather than an option. The days when organizations could maintain completely separate public and private faces are ending. Information flows too freely. People talk, experiences are shared. The truth eventually emerges. So, what happens if more people and organizations embrace accountability and reject the notion that behind the scenes harmful actions can coexist with public success? First, we would see healthier workplace cultures with reduced burnout and increased innovation. When people don't have to constantly watch their backs, they can focus forward. Second, we would see more diverse leadership as barriers created by toxic behaviors would diminish. The glass ceiling isn't just made of explicit discrimination, it's reinforced by subtle undermining, credit stealing, and behind the scenes sabotage. Third, we would see increased trust between organizations and their stakeholders. And trust isn't just a nice to have, it's a business asset that translates directly to customer loyalty, employee retention, and community support. Fourth, We would see more sustainable business models built on genuine value rather than undermining competitors. When businesses focus on creating actual value instead of just positioning themselves against others, they build more resilient foundations. And finally, we would see greater mental well being for professionals across industries, particularly those from historically marginalized groups who often bear the heaviest burden of navigating environments where public statements and private actions don't align. As JoAnne Dunn emphasized in our conversation, your reputation is built not just on what you do publicly, but on the consistency between your public and private actions. In today's connected world, harmful actions don't stay hidden forever, and the energy spent undermining others could instead be directed toward building something meaningful and lasting. This isn't about being naive, it's about being strategic. It's about recognizing that authenticity is not just a moral imperative, but a competitive advantage in a world hungry for genuine leadership. JoAnne Dunn's journey reminds us that breaking barriers happens through persistence and integrity, not by harming others. The business founder supporting Black women and entrepreneurs shows us that creating environments that don't tolerate behind the scenes harm leads to healthier, more productive communities. And a Fund Women demonstrates that organizations maintaining consistency between public statements and private actions build trust and create real impact. So, where do we go from here? What is our responsibility in this moment of reckoning? I challenge each of you to conduct a personal audit. Where in your life, professional or personal, have you allowed a gap to develop between your public face and your private actions? Where have you witnessed this gap in your organizations and remained silent? What would it cost you to close that gap? And more importantly, what might it cost you not to? The path forward isn't easy. Alignment requires courage, it requires vulnerability, it requires a willingness to be held accountable and to hold others accountable with compassion, but without compromise. But imagine for a moment what our workplaces, our communities, our world might look like if we all committed to this alignment. Imagine the innovation that could flourish when energy currently spent navigating toxic environments is redirected towards solving our most pressing challenges. Imagine the leadership that could emerge when barriers of behind the scenes sabotage are removed. Imagine the healing that could occur when we stop perpetuating cycles of harm. This isn't just about creating better workplaces, it's about creating a more just, more innovative, more sustainable world. It's about recognizing that the gap between public faces and private actions isn't just a personal ethical failing, it's a systemic issue that's holding us all back from our highest potential. As I close today, I want to leave you with this thought: your freedom, your power, your most profound impact doesn't come from playing the game better than others. It comes from changing the game entirely. It comes from having the courage to align your public face with your private actions, even when, especially when, it would be easier not to. The world doesn't need more leaders who say one thing and do another. It needs leaders like JoAnne Dunn who demonstrate that authenticity and integrity aren't liabilities, but the very foundation of transformative change. The choice is yours. Will you continue to accept the gap between public faces and private actions as an inevitable part of success? Or will you join the growing movement of leaders who are proving that alignment isn't just possible? It's the only sustainable path forward. The future is watching, and it's asking which side of history will you be on?